What's up, y'all? Ace Trainer X here. I'm trying something super new today. I'm doing a news video, which is like my last news video I did, but this one's gonna be more fanciful and cooler. And you can see my dog in the background. Look at him. She's sleeping. She's a little sleepy puppy. So big news that came out yesterday. The fourth set of 2024 is upon us, at least upon us in Japan, and we found out about it during the Sapporo Championship League live stream. It is going to be SV6A, and it's going to release June 7th in Japan. We're getting the Pecharunt. I don't know if that's actually how you say that. Pecharunt, and the Loyal 3, the Okidogi, the Monkidori, and the Fezandipiti. It's a bird. Okay, so Bird EX. I'm just going to call it Bird EX. I don't really know how to say that name. But something insanely exciting is actually happening because the introduction of a brand new type of card, an ACE SPEC STADIUM card. Isn't that just the coolest thing you've ever heard in your life? Probably. And we'll kind of talk about that later. I do have to say, I absolutely love the aesthetic of this set. I freaking love the black, purple, and pink. That's my favorite kind of aesthetic. And these mons are rife with that vibrant pink. And it's just such a cool set. I just love how it looks. I hope the international art is going to be super cool, at least for like the marketing and stuff like that. So let's take a look at these cards. Up first is Okidogi. Okidogi EX, and colorless poison muscle attaches with 2 basic darkness energy from your deck to this Pokemon, then shuffle your deck. If you attached any energy in this way, this Pokemon is now poisoned. Now, that might not seem good in of itself, but hold on, hold up, there is more. Dark colorless crazy chain, 130 plus. If this Pokemon is poisoned, this attack does 130 more. Okay, so Okidogi's first attack ramps itself and poisons itself. However, it's actually a good thing because of Crazy Chain's effect. So it's actually going to be doing 260 when it's poisoned, and that's kind of crazy. 260 for an attack that ramps itself is nothing to shake a stick at. Stick a shake at? Yeah. This could spawn an entirely new deck since it can actually get set up relatively fast, and it actually has quite a few really cool support cards in this set that's going to help this Okidogi maintain consistency, and we'll kind of talk about that. But something interesting is this deck would actually benefit by being supported by stuff like Dark Patch, because you can get a lot of Okidogis on the bench and start throwing Dark Patches down, start powering them up and stuff on the bench so they're good to go. However, there's actually going to be a new tool card that's going to help Okidogi kind of punch up. So if we're talking about Okidogi, we got to talk about Binding Mochi. So this Binding Mochi, which kind of looks like a, I don't know, what is that, like a pink red blood cell? It's kind of weird. Doesn't really look like Mochi to me, at least not the Mochi that we see here in the West. So if the Pokemon this card attacks is attached to, it's poisoned, its attack deals 40 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. So what that means is Okidogi can actually slam for 300. That is pretty intense. And some people actually might think this is going to combo with Town Store and maybe even Brute Bonnet. Brute Bonnet's Toxic Powder. Once during your turn, if this Pokemon has an Ancient Booster Energy Capsule attached, you may make both active Pokemon poisoned. But I honestly don't think it really needs this combo. And there's actually a good reason why I think that in my infinite wisdom. It's because of another brand new card coming out, the Pecharunt, which is just a nut, right? It's like a nut with little heart things, like it's got the anime thing going on, I think. But ability, Change of Control. Once during your turn, you may switch one of your bench dark Pokemon, except Pecharunt, with your active. Your new active is now poisoned. You can't use more than one Chains of Control ability per turn, so you can't just keep doing a bunch of switch effects. And Darkness, Frustration Burst 60 times. This attack does 60 damage for each prize card your opponent has taken. So this ability gives bench dark Pokemon a free switch effect, and it poisons them. I think this is going to be more consistent than playing with like Brute Bonnet and Town Store. The trade-off here is this Pecharunt, this little nut guy, is 192 pricer. And it's allergic to fighting types. So if that Greninja EX deck does take off here in the West, it hasn't really taken off in Japan, but if it does take off here in the West, it could be in trouble. But I guess you could say that about a lot of decks, like Turbo Hands. Its second attack is actually pretty good too as a late game closer. It does 240 if your opponent has taken 4 prize cards, and with the potential to do up to 300 damage if your opponent has taken 5 prize cards. So that could potentially, just hear me out, y'all. Potentially, it could one-shot a Zard. I mean, if we're thinking like if you are playing the Brute Bonnet combo and you do happen to be able to poison Pecharunt, the nut, and get that Mochi on it, man, it's swinging for 340, right? I mean, this thing is swinging for 340 in in-game, and that could one-shot a silly little Zard. I mean, that would be like an insanely ridiculous play, but I mean, you know, stranger things have happened in Pokemon. I don't know why anyone would actually do that, but you know, it'll happen. It'll happen to someone. I guarantee it. Guaranteed. 100%. Monkidori. So Monkidori EX, and his face, the thing he's got going on, I don't know what's happening with his face, but it kind of creeps me out, but it's also alluring in the same way. It's like he wants me to return to Monkey. I don't really know. Ability Disappointment, and I can definitely tell you that this card is absolutely a disappointment, okay? If this Pokemon is knocked out by damage from an opponent's attack while you have a Pecharunt EX in play, your opponent takes one less prize card. So I don't really know. The attack, Dark Colorless, Dirty Headbutt for 190. This Pokemon can't use Dirty Headbutt during your next turn. I guess it could combo with like this Legacy Energy. That's the one where you take one less prize card and stuff, but and your opponent gets 0 prize cards for this, which is yay. I don't know. It doesn't really seem worth it to limit your ACE spec slot to this really weird niche play, so I really do not believe this card is going to see any play whatsoever, especially because Dirty Headbutt is just a Hyper Beam, right? It can't use Dirty Headbutt during its next turn, so it's literally worthless. The only thing I could think of is there is a combo with the nut, since the nut has the free dark switch going on, is you can keep swapping in and out Monkidoris and keep smacking things for 190 with different Monkidoris, but I just don't see it. I mean, for trading off that 190 for a single prizer, which is effectively a single prizer if you have the nut in play, just doesn't seem worth it to me personally. I don't see it being played. I deem Monkidori a mid card. This is a mid card. The bird, Fezandipiti, the bird EX. So the ability Table Turner is actually super cool. Once during your turn, if any of your Pokemon were KO'd during your opponent's last turn, you may draw 3 cards. You can't use this ability more than once per turn, so you can only release it once, right? And colorless, Cruel Arrow, 100 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon. So this card is actually pretty freaking dope, man, because it has some fancy draw engine stuff going on, and it's just another example of how Pokemon is trying to offset prize advantage from your opponent. Your opponent is essentially winning and then winning more by taking prizes and getting more card advantage over you. So this is kind of the opposite effect. By you losing, you get to also get card advantage by drawing 3 additional cards. It seems like this card is actually going to be kind of maybe like the Barrel of Dark decks. It's going to fit in really well for a lot of extra draw, and I don't really see it being played for its attack. It's definitely going to be parked on the bench, y'all. It's going to be parked. I don't see anyone using Cruel Arrow. CCC, 100 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon just doesn't seem worth it to me. At 210 HP, though, it is a one-hit KO target, especially with Zard taking 1 prize card. I mean, this thing might just get totally destroyed, but there are other mons like it, you know, like Rotom V and Mew, so really nothing new with this thing being one-tappable. I mean, Rotom and everything, they kind of do almost the same thing, except with this, the Bird EX, you don't have to end your turn to use it, and you get that card advantage offsetting your opponent's prize card advantage. Something interesting is you don't even have to have Bird EX on the bench during the KO, right? Because it reads Pokemon were knocked out during your opponent's last turn. So you can actually play it and then draw 3, right? So that's pretty cool. So you can hold it in your hand and wait until the KO happens and still draw 3 with this card. So it's really just a card sitting in your hand that's waiting to draw 3 if you get KO'd and you are losing, like me. Super cool. Okay, so this new Kyurem card is actually super dope. There's so much to talk about with this Kyurem that you can make like an entire video on it, but a lot of other YouTubers already have, so I'm not going to. But let's be real. This is a Tina Lost Box tech, okay? Ability Anti-Plasma. If your opponent has any card with Colress in its name in their discard pile, this Pokemon's Trifrost attack can be used for 1 colorless energy. The attack is Trifrost, normally for water, metal, colorless. Discard all energy from this Pokemon. This attack does 110 damage to 3 of your opponent's Pokemon. So The fact that you can use Kyurem's attack for 1 colorless and it can KO Stabili, Cramorant, or let's be real, multiple Comfies in one go, that's just good value. Also, at 130 HP, it puts itself out of the range of Lost Mine. So Lost Mine does 12 damage counters, 120 typically damage on a Pokemon. But if you put them all in Kyurem, it's out of the way by 10 HP. So that's just good value right there. It could also, in theory, 2-tap Giratina V, but I really don't see that happening in normal play. It would be a really niche play, but I mean, maybe some people are going to use Kyurem to tap a Giratina V, especially on the bench, maybe. I mean, Kyurem is allergic to Shred just like everyone else, so I don't see that happening, but I guess it really depends on what is on the bench. But let's be real, this is going to smack 3 Comfies. It's going to smack 3 Comfies, and that Lost Box player is going to be very sad that it smacked 3 Comfies. I'd really say any deck using Colress's Experiment would be in jeopardy, but there's really only one archetype using this card that's going to be in danger. Pokemon clearly made this Kyurem for a very specific reason. Also, this art is just really cool. This little frosty Kyurem lad, he's about to do a big smack with the Trifrost stuff. Really cool card. There's a lot we could really say about this card, but it's going to be a Tina tech, it's going to be a Lost Box tech, and I see people playing it, especially if their local meta is rife with Tina Lost Box players. It's going to be added to pretty much every deck, and Tina players are going to have to be forced to deal with it. It's a threat, and it's going to be a threat, and they're going to have to really think twice about using that Colress's Experiment, right? Speaking of Daddy Colress, we got a new Colress card, and maybe this could be used with the Kyurem before, but I really doubt that's going to see a ton of play. So this Colress's Obsession, search your deck for 1 Stadium and 1 Energy, reveal them, and put them into your hand, and then shuffle your deck. Now, there aren't any cards that I know of specifically in Standard that search for Stadiums, besides maybe obviously like Quick Search Pidgeot ability or things that get any card, right? But, so this makes it definitely a very interesting card. Something to note is that Colress, it says 1 energy, like straight up 1 energy. It's not a basic energy, it's just 1 energy, any energy, pick your energy, whatever energy you want, you can have it. If your local meta is like swamped with Turbo Hands, this could be the answer to Jamming Tower. So Jamming Tower is coming out in Twilight Masquerade. Pokemon tools, cards in play, both yours and your opponents, have no effect. So it could be an answer if you're being really, I don't know, playing against a lot of Turbo Hands decks and it's really, really annoying. But again, that's going to be a very niche local meta play. It also opens up a lot of new decks to start grabbing ACE spec energies, right? So maybe it'll spawn some really cool, new, fun stuff. I mean, only time's going to tell for Colress's Obsession, but I agree that Lugia EX should not be the only deck that gets to play with fancy, new, cool ACE spec color energy cards to do fancy, cool, niche plays with. Stuff like that. Things. Neutral Center. ACE SPEC STADIUM. Pokemon that don't have a rule box don't take any damage from attacks from their opponent's Pokemon EX and Pokemon V. If this card is in your discard pile, it can't be put back into your hand or put back into your deck. A brand new type of ACE SPEC that has never been seen before. Never been seen. Never had an ACE SPEC Stadium. Brand new. Super spanking brand new. While this card is honestly super insanely interesting and cool, I am unsure if it's going to see a lot of play. Stadiums are historically allergic to lost vacuums, especially if it's something that the deck needs as a stadium. But I mean, Ancient Box could possibly play this card since it mostly relies on single prizers, but I just don't know why Ancient Box or any Ancient deck would really play it over, you know, Awakening Drum as their ACE spec, because Awakening Drum gets them those cards that they need, especially Sada, you know. And also, even with the new Colress, getting a stadium is hard, right? Even if you're playing that new Colress, getting a new stadium is hard. The only possible scenario that I could think is if your opponent is for some reason out of Lost Vacuums, or if you believe they're out of Lost Vacuums and their deck doesn't typically play any type of stadium cards, it could be a huge mess for them to deal with. Actually, it could be impossible for them to deal with. It could completely shut them down. Like, for example, if we're talking about traditional Turbo Hands, it typically plays maybe 1 to 2 Lost Vacuums, and the newer Turbo Hands aren't even playing Town Store. So if you played this new stadium to Turbo Hands, I mean, it would completely shut down Turbo Hands. Turbo Hands couldn't do anything. I mean, Turbo Hands' entire deck only plays EXs, so it would literally and completely shut down Turbo Hands if that scenario were to occur, which may or may not occur in your local meta. Your very fancy local meta, But nonetheless, it is a really cool card. It has some fancy cool art, and I'm sure people will be playing it. I'm sure it'll be a $1 to $2 staple for anybody. All right, guys, so that's all I have for the new set that's coming out. You can see my puppy. My puppy is right there. My other puppy is right there. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you've made it this far. I really appreciate all you guys hanging on with me. These new videos seem to be getting more popular for me, so I'm really hoping to make more of them. And hopefully this new format will be pretty good and helpful for the community. I'll see y'all next time, and y'all take care and have a great one.